اوكي. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful that we were gathered in this beautiful occasion. And I wanted to start with some Arabic phrases because I do talk a lot about this kind of stuff, but usually in settings where when I invoke explicitly God, I don't get to start with prayer basically. But so I appreciate that I was able to hear, and I also wanted to say I'm very grateful that we have been given these questions and these answers. It's a journey, and we have had the blessing of experiencing certain beautiful truths. So we're very grateful to the one who sent the prophets to us. We're very grateful to people who explained the revelation to us. We're grateful for them. It's through them that we get these blessings. I'm very grateful to what I have learned through Dr. Ali and Dr. Yamina, and all the other beautiful mirrors, all the other beautiful teachers who have reflected glimpses of divine wisdom and compassion to us. So we have had a lot of discussions on evidences, and we have had really nuanced discussions, sometimes very, very detailed discussions. My job is to assume that all of that has happened and assume that we were able to follow quite a bit of that discussion, all those evidences and detailed reflections. So building on that, I want to talk about why it matters to find Tawhid, meaning to find one being who's responsible for everything, every moment. It's not nature, it's not natural causes, it's not happening by itself. Why does it matter to really come to that conclusion and renew that conclusion? Why does it matter? So that's what I want to talk a little bit about. So we have understood that causes, asbab, are not real creators. You can replace causes with nature or by itself, all of that. Therefore, so what difference does it make? We have said water gives life. This is a misunderstanding. It's a common misunderstanding. It's an understandable misunderstanding. We do this all the time. But then if we go beyond that superficial impression, if we dig deeper and reflect deeper, we realize that water can't give life. It's unconscious. It is itself doesn't have life. How can it give life? So then hopefully we were able to see the evidences that yes, it's accurate to say that life is given by the life giver through water. Water is just the means through which life giver is reflecting his power. Now the question is, so what? Therefore, you still need to water your plant. You still need to get your water intake every day. So regardless of whether we say water gives me life or a life giver gives me life through this water, it's just the means, just a veil. At the end of the day, I need to drink water. So what difference does it make, really, to come to this conclusion for my life? We have a lot of examples, but I want to bring another example. Like, I love this. When we were all embryos at some point in our lives in a womb, and we have been nurtured in different ways. So first we had the yolk sac, and the yolk sac disappears, and the placenta, and then placenta is cut off, and then you find yourself with your mom's milk or formula, some sort of nourishment after the womb. So we are nurtured through these things. Why does it matter to look beyond these causes, and to say, well, it's not the yolk sac that nurtured me, it's actually somebody else through the yolk sac took care of me. Why does it matter? It matters, I'm going to come back to this in a bit. It matters because that reflection takes us to al-asma al-husna, beautiful qualities of the divine. as we reflect on these causal connections, we realize that these causes and their fruits, those two together, become a sign, and they give the news of this unseen being and his qualities. So coming back to this, it's one thing to say, well, we were lucky, it was yolk sac and somehow placenta, and then so you came out, somehow there was milk, and people who cared about you, and then at some point, as you grow, you had somehow the strongest tissue ever coming out of an unexpected place called teeth, and then you started chewing and so on. So just you can see this, okay, this thing, I was lucky, and I don't know how far I'll be lucky, but things worked out for me. That's one way of looking at it, and you don't get anywhere with it, in the sense that, yes, you get nurtured, you get what you need in one level, but it doesn't have a future necessarily. Just because things worked for you today, they may not work for you tomorrow. But if I look deeper and say, hey, look at this, these things look essential for my well-being. They look like they are my nurturers, like yolk sac, and then it disappears, right? Well, but I can do without it. Now placenta kicks in. So what does it mean? How I live in a world, everything is, in this case, nurturing is coming through something, right? There's always something through which it is coming. But that thing changes. So I can't say, oh, yolk sac I can't do without it. Well, turns out you can do without it, because there's this new thing called placenta. Oh, placenta, I can't do without it. Oh, well, it gets cut off, and you actually can live without it in a different way. But in each case, there is another cause, apparent cause, that becomes a channel for nurturing. Now, when I find that these are just channels and not the things in themselves that are nurturing me, they are not my nurturers, then I find a secure connection. Because I realize these things can change, but I have found a nurture, that somebody cares about me. Somebody nurtures me. And that is something a very helpful result to get there. So it's not just, in both cases, we both have placenta, we both have milk, or we both exist within a world where there's a natural order, there is causal connections. But in one case, you just say, okay, somehow, these things are working for me, and that's that. And in the other case, they reflect, they give you a message. They are almost like messengers. They say there's someone behind, there's this quality of nurturing will always be with you, because they are saying it's not from us. Right? Yolk sac saying, you thought it's for me, I'm going. I can't even take care of myself. How can I take care of you? Right? You say, my mom, she's the source of my well-being. She says, I can't even take care of my life. I don't even know how I came to life, let alone give you life, right? So then you say, well, you were a channel through which compassion reached me. So you get to connect to the real source of compassion. And that's an enduring thing. The causes will change, and they are all transient. I'm transient, but then I got a hold onto the unchanging. That's what it means to discover beautiful names, beautiful qualities. These are qualities that reflect through natural order or through the causal connections, and they are stable. So you find them, you're in good hands. This was already quoted in a previous presentation. I think Brother Yusuf, maybe. This is a passage from Said Nursi's works, and he says the distance between cause and effect seems very close, but actually cause and effect, they seem very close. One is making the other. Yolk sac is giving you nourishment, or placenta, or your mom. But if you look closer, you realize there's a huge difference between the two. Yolk sac doesn't know itself, doesn't even know you. It was made subservient for you. It was a channel through which the one who knows you, who cares about you, have manifested. So then, within that reflection, then beautiful names of God starts appearing. When you reflect on the connection between cause and effect, then you start discovering beautiful names. So you say, I'm being nurtured in different ways. So that is pointing to nurture, somebody who knows, somebody who's powerful enough to make unexpected things work for you. Today it's placenta, tomorrow it's some other thing. somebody who has compassion for my needs, and somebody who's wise. This is especially important wisdom because that manifests through causal connections, right? If you it's a bit speculation, but like if we had an instant mechanism of getting full or nurtured, there wasn't all this placenta and then mother and then this and then teeth and then digestive system, then we wouldn't be able to appreciate how much we are taken care of and how wisely things are arranged for us. So though that causal order enables us to find the beautiful quality of wise wisdom. Now,
excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Could you go back to the last slide?
This one.
Is it possible to kind of a little bit elaborate more within this long, distance is long? Okay, we're talking about this whole day, I'm not in probably. Within this long distance, cause and effect that the divine names, each rise like stars. Can you explain more how this pops out between cause and effect, or this apparent cause and effects?
Did the yolk sac did that help?
Kind of, but I feel like I need a bit more.
Can I try to
Non-baby example, huh?
perhaps my understanding might help. The way I understand it, and I took it very literally as well, is if I look at perhaps just, let's say, a hair follicle, just one hair, connected to, let's say, my skin, it seems very, very close. Right? It seems like it's directly in relation. And upon further closer investigation, closer meaning literally like coming close to it, you can start to see things that weren't apparent at a distance. So just as how the example or the analogy of putting it under a telescope means you widen the understanding by coming more closer to it, meaning the the qualities that are manifested aren't that apparent unless you investigate it closely. And this close investigation isn't necessarily now distance, but rather understanding that there's more to it than just what meets the eye.
I think in Yusuf's slide it was very clear. The crescent and the top of the mountain was touching to each other. When you get closer, the distance. It means the distance between cause and effect. we said we shouldn't use cause and effect and cause. Look at the effect, get closer to it, see the qualities reflected in the effect, and this from distance seems to be touching to each other or cogent to each other. Cause and effect. Yeah, milk and the growth of the baby. Cause and effect and cause. Baby is there, mother's milk is there. Must be mother's milk. So look at the baby, look at the mother's milk, and look at the baby, the qualities there, human qualities. Yeah, if it is Osman's baby, more than human qualities, something divine in it. And then look at the milk and compare it. Is there any sign of existence of these qualities in the milk? No. Make the distinction now between effect cannot be the result of the apparent cogent substance, which is milk. There. So, read it, and we have been discussing this for 2 days, Muhammad. I think you were here.
I was aware that we were talking about
it is now through the telescope of belief. Belief means your conclusion, whereas personal conclusion. This is a good point. So, belief is your conclusion comparing the manifestations of the qualities on effect and the qualities in the apparent cause, which is adjacent to it, you say there is no relationship at all through the telescope of belief, means the milk cannot be the cause of existence of the baby. What is going on? There must be something else giving those qualities, manifesting those qualities on the baby, not the milk. Open this apparently adjacent existence, separated. What comes out? Names the qualities of the creator, of the baby, manifested there. Right? Here we are.
There is a metaphor used somewhere in the recital Nur. There, Nursi makes a comparison between two apples received. Okay, so one apple, you receive an apple, just you stumbled on it when you were walking down the street, or maybe you stole it even from an orchard. You have an apple, and then in the other scenario, you actually are at a very prestigious gathering, and somebody you highly respect turns to you and says, "Actually, no, this is for you," and gives you that apple. And in both cases, let's say the apple is identical, so in both cases you got the same one apple. But in one of them, you got more than the apple, right? In the case of when it was gifted to you, there was the apple, but then in that gift, there was also a compliment, right? So even though from outside it looks like both people got the same thing, but they actually didn't get the same thing. One just stumbled on something, an apple he ate, and he used it, became energy, partly disposed of in the restroom, and that's it. And then the other one is used too, but in the other one, even after the apple is finished, now I have a connection with this person, right? She complimented me, and we have a relationship. This gift can be an initiation of a relationship, a friendship, or connection. So it's not the same to say that in both cases you just get an apple. What's the big deal? Whether water gives life or God gives through water. In both cases you need to drink water. It's not the same. In one case you just drink, thinking that somehow this thing is it magic, or is it something we can't understand. Somehow this thing gives me life. Interesting. You drink, and then that's that. It's finite. It's abtar. Remember in that surah Al-Kawthar, it says, "Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar." We have given you abundance, and those who reject you, theirs is the abtar, that being closed, having no nothing beyond a moment of not enduring significance, no enduring. So in this case, then, if we discover the one sustaining these natural causes and natural order and effect, then we find a solution to transience, because yolk sac goes away, placenta goes away, my mom goes away, even my lungs can fail me, even my digestive system can fail me, even I can die. It doesn't matter, because I have connected, and I have found the one who is the life giver, right? So I have found the problem for my transience. So there's a world of difference whether we choose to discover the one behind the scenes and discover the beautiful names or not. Because when you discover the beautiful names, Al-Asma' al-Husna, then you're discovering enduring eternal sources of these qualities that you yearn for. So that is an amazing difference. Then just say, I have some glimpses here, and then I'm going to enjoy, and that's that. Very brief enjoyment, but that's not satisfactory, because transience remains as the elephant in the room. Okay, either something that we remember through death and separation, or something through disease, things happening abnormally, right? And they shock us. If you don't have a bigger picture, if you don't have a connection to the enduring one, then all of these things are big blows and spoil all the fun, even from the apple. that one apple. So the distinction then between finding the beautiful names of God, reflecting through natural order or not, is a difference between begging from things versus recognizing that I am a guest of the Eternal One. So in the first case, I think that water or electricity or this and that this power, that power is controlling my life. And that's a world in which I'm at the mercy of things that do not know or care about me. Even that nature video, the person said nature doesn't care about you. It does everything for you, but it doesn't. That is devastating to think that something has so much control over your life, but doesn't actually care about your life or even know you. That's very devastating for human being. But when we discover that what we think is the real cause is not actually the real maker, not real agent, it's just a means through which the creator is reflecting his power and knowledge and mercy, then I am dependent only on him, only on the mercy and power and wisdom of the Eternal One. So the difference between the two then, finding Tawhid and not finding, is the difference between being stuck with idols or being finding yourself surrounded by these mirrors all shining and enlightening your world. So when what I mean by idol is that illusion view that things are happening by themselves. Somehow these ignorant things are controlling your life and doing things for you. And it's a very limiting worldview because you get stuck in transience. They are transient. Everything is passing, and they don't care about you. So it became very disappointing. You expect the world to understand you, to work for you. It works for you sometimes. It doesn't work for you other times, and it's very disappointing. And then that's very painful. Maybe I shared this before with some of you. Many years ago, when I was young at school, medical school, one of our professors used to teach us. Was he a pathology teacher? I don't know. Or he was teaching us about cancer, and he said, "If I were to come to the world one more time," he said, "I would like to be a virus." He said, because he said he was in the middle of a cancer lecture, so he said. Malignant tumors are very smart, he said. They will do anything to kill you, and they know how to kill you. So they will block your, they will get into places they can shed their receptors, so your immune system can recognize them, and so on. Like they have all these very smart tricks to get you. So they're very smart, but at the same time, he said, when they kill you, they also die because they live off your bloodstream. So that's stupid of them to kill you because at the end of the day, they die too. But viruses, he said, they blast the cell and they move on to another cell. So that's smarter. So he would like to be a virus. If he could come again, then that's about transience, basically. He's saying, I want to be internal, basically. That had stayed with me. It has been like long years since that lecture, but that stayed with me because that's, for me, for you it might be a different example, but for me it became that kind of almost like a clear example of how you can start idolizing things, right? You can call a malignant tumor very smart, but at the same time it's so stupid. It's against you, but it doesn't even know itself. And so you live in this world that you're at the mercy of these stuff that can act more knowledgeable than you are, and that can control your life, but then at the same time they don't care about you. That's a very, very dark world, right? And very, very painful. Another example, and this is kind of something that I learned recently, one of those interesting things to think about. This brain researcher, she was saying that she or he, I don't remember, that there is this disease in which the person cannot recognize herself in the mirror. So she looks at the mirror, she completely perceives, like sometimes you have images, but you don't put them together into a face. That's another disorder. But no, in this case, she recognized this is a full human being. This is a person with, red hair and, this kind of nose. She completely, perceives the picture. She just cannot perceive that this person she's seeing in the mirror is herself. And so in this, if you're in the first worldview, things just happen and they cause things. So there's something in your brain that controls certain things and gives you proper perception of who you are in the mirror. And then when they go crazy or they go lacking, you can't even recognize yourself in the mirror. It's devastating. It's disappointing. You're at the mercy of these things that somehow give you important things in life, but then they can take that away too, or they may all of a sudden stop working, and that's a tragedy. But in the second one, when you discover that these causes are not acting on their own and they're pointing to somebody behind them, then even something like this, which is an example of a disorder, something going bad, right? Something stopped working in some way in your brain, so you can't even recognize yourself in the mirror. But that connection between certain region in the brain and your capacity to perceive yourself as, yes, this is me, Isra, nobody else, it's me in the mirror. That connection, those two going together, it looks like this is making that. But if you look at it with the telescope, then it becomes an example of Hakim, like somebody wisely arranged me to the tiniest detail. Until I heard this, I didn't think that it was actually particularly arranged, that if you can see yourself, then you recognize yourself. Those are instant things. And then now I know that no, just because you see yourself doesn't mean you can say this is me. Like that intuition even, it has a setup, has a cause connected to it, so that it becomes a means for you to realize, wow, I have been so well taken care of. Like things have been planned for me, right? So if it breaks down in that particular case, if I'm the patient, so for me at that point it's not working, but it's not the end of the world, right? Because Al-Hakim is there. He still cares about me. He still is all-powerful. And if this is happening in my brain, it's not because whoever is making everything happen said, well, I couldn't handle more than 6 billion brains and, just had to drop you in the middle, I couldn't handle your brain. It was too much. No, it is an abundance. That if my brain has this disorder at this point, it's not because of a lack of a power, but it is a sign for me to decipher it. It becomes part of my journey of discovering beautiful names of God. So then the world is, mirror is a metaphor. It's not the only way of talking about it, but the world becomes a place where beautiful qualities are manifesting, both through natural connections, natural causality, sometimes breaking down, because when they break down, then we see connections more. Sometimes it comes in the form of something disappointing, sometimes in the form of something exciting, but at the end of the day, whatever happens, it's not going to, in the bigger picture, it's not going to be devastating, because that you find the one who's behind the scenes. Who's the source of all beauty and power. So you are honored with that connection, and that's the deeply joyful state. Ultimately, I used to think joy is a little bit a cheap word for a religious context, until with Faraz, we wrote a grant for joy, theology of joy, and we really got excited about it. But basically, some of you may think of joy, it's such a serious matter, you brought joy into it. But really, it is about joy when you recognize that every single thing is intentionally being made, and all these beautiful qualities reflecting through these connections. Then human being comes to a stage of, human heart really comes to a stage of joy and gratitude. And we have all these needs. We are interconnected. It's not just about me feeling better, but I want everybody that I care about to feel good, to feel taken care of. All of these needs, which in one way make us very vulnerable, and we become really tragic beings because we care about so many things that we can't handle. That becomes actually a venue for appreciating blessings from the divine, and not just blessings in terms of what I receive and conceive, but in terms of the blessing of seeing the beautiful qualities and finally discovering them. yeah, celebrating is another word I said 24/7 because I want to highlight how, for myself primarily and for all of us, that this can happen through both events that are happy and also events that are sad. Because we live in a world, as I think Adam said earlier, it's very beautiful and orderly in many ways, but at the same time it also has so many challenges. Awkward things happen, tragic things happen, sicknesses happen, weird stuff happens. So we live in a world of also a lot of opposites. So how do you celebrate 24/7? Because we can't celebrate 24/7 if we are open and conscious of what it means to find beautiful qualities reflecting. Then we can celebrate, because we get to see that these beautiful qualities manifest through all occasions, even though occasions that are difficult. Actually, because of the difficulties, we get to appreciate the ease, and because of the sicknesses, we get to see the beauty of healing, for instance, reflect. And also through this, a lot of insecurities go away, because even when you're very successful, deep down there's insecurity, because you know that it's not. You don't have a reason to think it's going to continue. And there are lots of people who are very successful and then they fall down. There are lots of people happy and beautiful today and ugly and even dead tomorrow, or in trouble the next day. So we deep down know there's always this deep down insecurity about where we are. But with this, when we shift the focus from just getting the apple to getting the apple, and then who's giving me the apple, and what's reflecting through that. When we shift the focus there, then we get to see beauty and power and wisdom reflecting both on others around us and also in us. So we can make sense of the struggles we go through. We can also make sense of some of the mess we seems to be happening in the world, and also we get rid of that. So we get rid of that insecurity to the extent that we discover beautiful names, and also jealousy. I don't know if that's a particularly problem you struggle with, but many of us do. So somebody else gets a better grade than I do. Somebody else gets a better job than I do. It's a very competitive market, and here she goes. She gets a better. She gets the job that I applied for, or she gets a bigger house and I get a smaller house, and whatever. Like you can compare constantly, and underneath there's always this sense of the sources are scarce, and we're struggling with the sources for the same resources, and she gets it, I don't get it, and there's this jealousy. In this case, everything is from him, and everything is reflecting his generosity. If somebody gets happy and rich, that is a sign that you're created this source of power. So many years ago, when I was young, I was in a situation that I was trying to. It was a difficult situation for me, and I was trying to get out of it and looking for some solution. I started going to Dr. Ali's halaqah. That was helpful. And somebody from Dr. Ali's halaqahs in Istanbul, I bumped into her in the marketplace. And she's like, "Oh, so how's it going?" I said, "This is the issue I'm trying to solve it." And she's like, "I hope it's gonna be solved, and I'm gonna be so happy." Like I didn't even know her too closely, and she's like, "I'm gonna be so happy. I want it to happen for you, and I want it to happen for me, because when it happens to you, when your issue is solved, that's another reason for me to celebrate that my Creator can solve problems, so He can help me too." So she was like, in my happiness, she could see her happiness. I'm like, wow, I never thought about it that way. But why? Because she has shifted from me. Which is fine, we are concerned about ourselves, but she realized that, well, whoever takes care of me is the one who takes care of her. So I can celebrate and praise the one, regardless of that beauty manifests on me or on somebody else. Of course, we want it to manifest through us as well, because we have this responsibility to be a place where beauty manifests. But we don't have to compete with somebody else who manifests the beauty. The more the merrier. If it reflects on my friend or somebody who not even my friend, wonderful. Yeah, I'm appreciating divine wisdom manifesting through this person, divine creativity manifesting through this this person, so I don't have to compete because it's all coming from one source. And also that I don't need to feel deprived. Why didn't I get it? Not because God ran out of funds. And I'm sorry, I couldn't give you a big house because I gave to Adam, and I can't give you a big house. So, I can't hold, I can't make houses cheap everywhere. So you have to, it's you realize that the more we go deeper in reflection, the more we go beyond the superficial level of, this happened, that's why this happened. He's smart, that's why he's rich. He's rich, that's why he has a house. If we get rid of these being stuck in these apparent causal connections, then we see somebody's blessed with something, reflects divine beauty, divine abundance. So I can celebrate and I can praise the Creator through that. I don't have to say, no, why am I being deprived? No, you're not being deprived. If you don't get what you want now, maybe it's not your time. Absolutely, it's not your time, because it would. There's wisdom behind everything. So, so that feeling deprived, all that feeling, to the extent we find beautiful names manifesting in the universe, the more we get rid of these unnecessary feelings of feeling deprived or jealous or being insecure. The other thing that this brings is worship. I already mentioned in gratitude. Gratitude is the key form, the heart of worship. This was also mentioned earlier in one of the presentations. Why is worship almost like a organic fruit, organic result of this view? Because the more we recognize that these beautiful names, qualities manifesting, the more we want to glorify, and the more we want to celebrate that. It's be amazing, Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah, and the more we worship, and this is again from Sayyid Nursi, it says, as you worship, then you get to also notice the worship of the universe around you. So it goes both ways. The more you see the world around you pointing to someone who's powerful and merciful and wise, the more you want to bow down before that being. And then the more you do that, ideally, the more you notice the world around you. And that is a compliment to yourself and a compliment to the world around you. Because if you tell that virus, you're just so great. If I tell, let's say, we take the example of the virus. If I, from my professor's perspective, I say, this is the best example of a selfish being. It goes into a cell, blasts and goes into another cell. The virus will be like, what? This is the value you give me? You think I am the perfect example of being selfish and destructive and just getting away with, blasting other cells? Do you think that's why I am in the world? This is the message you're getting from me? That's an insult to the virus. The virus is going to turn around and say, I'm here to manifest beautiful names of God. Yes, some things manifest. Medicine manifests by killing me. I manifest beautiful names of God in a different way, by blasting cells. How dare you call me that I'm just selfish being going around and abusing other cells just for its own selfish ends? How dare, right? So when we see the beautiful names, we're honoring the world around us, and then we're also honoring ourselves as we become part of that orchestra, as Dr. Ali used to say, that orchestra praising the one who has these beautiful names. I have more slides. Gotta be careful with slides. This is another quote from. This is another quote from Imam Nursi that was mentioned, I think, again by Yusuf, maybe. This is the end of the treatise on nature, that 23rd flash, toward the end in the conclusion part. Can I have somebody read this out loud? Yes.
Almighty God created man as a measure and scale for the universe, and from the world he gave a particular world to each person. The world he colors for him in accordance with his sincere beliefs. For example, a despairing, lamenting, weeping person sees beings as weeping and in despair, while a cheerful, optimistic, joyful person sees the universe as joyful and smiling. A reflective man, given to serious worship and glorification, discovers and sees to a degree the certain, truly existent worship and glorification of being.
So to
I
just
100% agree. Even the color, when you are in despair, even the colors becomes more.
gloomy, everything.
Yeah, and when you are joyful, it becomes more bright and light.
Yeah, same color. You 100% agree?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So yeah.
Okay, then. If you're okay, then okay.
So to paraphrase then, we all have, there's one universe, but we also have a universe. Each of us have a personal universe within the universe. And this world God colors for you. I mean, this is the largest sense of coloring here. Is shaped according to your sincere beliefs. That's interesting. According to my sincere beliefs, I perceive the universe. According to your sincere beliefs, you perceive the universe. And it is very interesting for me that he puts worship in this category as somebody who is given to serious worship. So not just goes through the motions and it's like, I'm done. But somebody who actually engages in worship in a reflective way, seriously says subhanallah. When he says subhanallah, he means it. Alhamdulillah, he means it. And then he has had previous reflection that connects him to these words of praise. Then that person, to the extent he engages in that kind of worship, he starts seeing the world from that window. That starts seeing the world, glorification of the creatures in the world more. That becomes a window through which he's looking at the world, through the window of worship. Because he's engaged in intentional worship, then he gets to notice. It's there for sure, but you get to notice more how the universe is glorifying and pointing to the one with beautiful names. Something worth investing in and exploring and testing out, I think. Wanted to share. Not necessarily because I can 100% say I live it, but something I would like to explore more.
Can I go? Can I ask?
Actually,
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
we don't take comments normally.
Thank you.
Do we?
I think he doesn't have it anymore.
Ah, okay.
I could say.
Okay, we take. Come on.
I was just going to say the statement where it says, this world he colors for him in accordance with his sincere beliefs. Does this statement imply that the world is colorless to begin with?
This is a metaphor. That's what I try to express. When it says colors the world, it's more like he's working with the metaphor of like if you had pink glasses, then you would see everything pink. Right. If you had blue, so God colors your glasses according to your sincere beliefs. He doesn't mean literally color, but whether you see the world as joyful or as a sad place, as a place where things are praising God, or as a place things are just saying I'm selfish and that's that. That perception depends on your glasses, and God gives you glasses according to your sincere beliefs. If you believe that this is a world that just happens or at the mercy of nonsense or these ignorant factors, then you see the world that way. You look at the same thing and you don't see it praising. You see it tragic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can we also say that because when it says the colors according with his sincere beliefs, when you ask a question like, then should we take it colorless as a beginning? But I guess you're assuming that it is possible not to have beliefs. I guess what I see there, it says you always have beliefs, one way or another. Because the same author, when he describing the Pharaoh, for instance, am I pronouncing the Pharaoh? Pharaoh? Okay. When he's describing the Pharaoh, like model of disbelief, let's say, in our language, as having some sincere beliefs, what he is doing in his actions, let's say, or the followers of the pharaohs as having sincere beliefs. Sincere belief in themselves, some other causes or whatever. But I guess we all have some beliefs.
Yeah. And maybe he's saying sincere because sometimes you say some things, but deep down you believe in something else. So sometimes you say, Alhamdulillah, in your heart it's like, it's not fair, right? So you see the world not according to just what you vocalize, but also according to what you genuinely believe. So if you genuinely come from a place of gratitude, then you see the world more reflecting the beautiful names. So inshallah we can align our beliefs with what we profess.
And also beliefs is in plural. Sincere beliefs.
I'm going to check the original.
Just believe.
Does it make a difference for your beliefs?
A little bit, yeah. I'm wondering also.
Yeah, belief or a set of beliefs. You believe in a life after death. You believe in one God, so on. So in that sense, you can say plural. So then, ta-da! This is the new me. Hopefully, as I discover more the beautiful names reflecting through natural connections and cause and effect, then the more I discover that, the more I make this move from a faker beggar into a worshipper representative. Faker, I don't know if that's a word, but somebody who fakes, I mean. Because the interesting thing about us is that we, from one perspective, we're just very vulnerable beings who have control over very little things, apparent control at least, on very little things. At the same time, we become places of manifestation of a lot of creativity, a lot of skill. So what do you make of that? One of my relatives, he's a surgeon, and he said one time he was in this very difficult, long surgery operation, and he says, "I'm trying to cut the tissue, it's not yielding, and in order to do what I need to do, I need that tissue to." But he says sometimes it happens, it won't go through, and he said, I felt stuck, and I said, "God, please, you're great. Please, let this open up." And then he said, after I said that, it did open up, and I did what I needed to do. And then I finished. I came out, and people were like, "Congratulations, doctor! You have done an amazing job." And he said, I could feel like inside me, like a part of me said, "No, I didn't do it. Really, you could see me. I was trembling. It wasn't going to happen, but it did happen. I'm very grateful. It's not for me." A part of me said that, and a part of me is like, "Yes, I did it. It's mine." Right? So we are that beings who can reflect incredible skill. He did manifest something amazing there. Most soldiers maybe couldn't handle that. There is skill manifesting. There is power. There is wisdom manifesting there. At the same time, he knows it's not from him. So how do you handle that in everyday life? You become a faker. You say, oh yes, yes, I did it. I'm a great surgeon. And this and that. So you fake it, even though deep down that actually you didn't do it, right? And that's where we have the insecurity building deep down, even when we are extremely successful. Yes.
Another example comes to mind, like faking it. So, people ask, "Hey, how's it going? How are you doing?" "Yeah, fine, good." We just say it, but like there's something terrible going on behind the scenes. Yeah. But you kind of just it becomes like a regular lingo.
Yeah.
Or when you go for interviews.
Yeah.
It's true. I didn't realize that.
And what is important there is that you are becoming venue of something incredible manifesting. So it's not like there's nothing manifesting through you. It's not yours. But if you can, on the other side, if you can move to the other perspective where you see everything coming from this one source of immense power, immense wisdom, then when you go to the interview, you say like, "I know, I'm even stuttering, I'm so nervous. But I do trust the one who has given me all these different things before. I do trust and ask him to help me through this. And he said, Bismillah, you go with it, and then it goes great. So then that notion of fake it until you make it, it has a truth in the sense that fake it, not in the sense that I can do it myself, but fake in the sense that even if you know you can't do it, take the step because you're not going to do it. Somebody else will enable you to do it. You just have to take your first step. So then you can, depends on how you interpret fake it, right? In the first one, you're genuinely faking it. In the second one, you're saying, I know I have nothing, but I do trust the one. So I will take the step, and it does happen. And you find yourself saying things, doing things that you didn't imagine you could do it. And you might get used to it. You might become a great preacher or whatever, but you can still be number two. You can still say, I'm a worshiper. This is manifesting through me. It's not mine. And I'm open to it, though. I'm not like terrified that I'm closing myself. No, I can't do anything. No, I'm not going to even leave my room. I can't do anything. No, you can do everything. Bismillah. In His name, not in your name. Another anecdote is this. There's this TED Talk. This woman, I think she teaches now in Harvard. But she tells the story of, she's actually talking about some psychological theory. In the middle, she talks about her own personal story. So she was a gifted child, very high IQ. And then one day she has an accident. She's thrown out of the car and rolls out. And her IQ drops dramatically. So instead of being a gifted child, she becomes a little bit, not retarded, but like, below average child. So it takes her, I think, I don't remember the numbers, but it takes 7 years for her to finish college after trying really, really hard. And people even tell her, college is not for you. Go try something else. You know that TED Talk? No? So it's like, he's not for you. She's like, no, I'm going to do it. But she works really, really hard. And she said, I worked and I got lucky. I got lucky. I'm like, is that how you interpret what happened? So basically, she finds a way, she gets into a graduate program in Princeton. And she keeps telling herself, I'm faking this. I don't belong here. Everybody's smart. I'm not smart. I somehow got here. It's not, I'm lucky, but, I don't belong here. So they, how much time? But basically, they tell her that she needs to give a speech. That's the Princeton rule, whatever. So she says, I can't do it. I'm actually a faker. She goes to the professor who accepted her. She says, actually, I don't belong here. I say, she says, you belong here. That woman had that courage. She said, you belong here. I got you in, and you're gonna stay. And you're gonna go out there. You're gonna fake it until you make it. You fake it until, and she keeps faking it. She always is trembling, but she goes and she pretends. Of course she can do it. She fakes it until she makes it. She actually makes it now. And she's a professor at Harvard, and one day she has a student who comes in. But, she did all throughout.
What's the take-home message?
The message here is this. No. This is the second part to this. She has a student who is very shy and comes to her office and in Harvard, and she says to the student, you have got to speak up because you're going to fail the class if you don't. Attendance is important. And the girl tells her, she says, I don't belong here, professor. I don't know how I got in here. I don't belong here. And she tells her, you're going to fake it until you will make it. And then she remembered exactly that she was in that situation. What is interesting to me is that she had forgotten that. She had forgotten that she felt just like that student in her class. But she faked it, and she completely forgot. Now she's this professor in Harvard. But when she saw her, when she was telling this, she teared up. She realized, wow, I was there. Now she explains it as somehow it worked for me. Maybe it's a formula, it will work for you too, right? But she's still in the first, right? She's faking and she's begging from this is a formula. You're begging from this formula. If you do it, maybe you tap into something in your psychology, maybe you'll get there. In the other one, you're saying, you're not faking it, you are nothing. You have nothing, but you have a creator who has everything. So in the second scenario, you're a worshiper, but it's very honored because you can rely on the one who has all the power. So when things start working, you don't say, I got lucky. You don't say it just somehow worked, you fake it and it happens. All of them are bad interpretations of what really happened. I'm looking at her, she's not interpreting her experience that way. I'm looking at her and I'm seeing names of God reflecting through her journey. Like she thought her IQ was hers, it wasn't hers, but then she was still given success. All of this reflecting something much bigger than her and something beautiful. She may not necessarily interpreting it that way, but I can look at it and interpret it, and that's the lesson that I'm taking, that let's not be in the first one where we think we're thinking and constantly being terrified that somebody's going to find it out, and then, or you forget, and so you can't be grateful because you actually forgot what happened, what you received. If we switch to the second one, we are in grateful mode. Like, I know it's not from me, I'm receiving, I'm grateful. Alhamdulillah, I'm celebrating that. And if things don't go with the way we hope for, let's say I wanted to do a job and I failed. In the first case scenario, that's devastation, right? You relied on this fake it until make it, let's say that principle betrayed you. Or you relied on your IQ. She said, I was terrified when I lost my IQ because that was my identity. Like something so precious was taken away from you. And you're like, it wasn't your identity. It wasn't yours. Why are you so disappointed? It wasn't yours anyway. Right? In the second case, even in situations where you had a choice and you made a mistake, you come back and say, I ask for forgiveness. And even that becomes a room for praise. Because when I make a mistake, that can become a way to recognize the one who doesn't have fault. Because I learn through contrasts. When I mess something up, that can become a sign for me to discover beautiful names again. So you're not ever a loser, even when you make a mistake. In the second scenario. And the other thing I wanted to add is representative, Khalifa. These are two sides of the same coin. On one perspective, you have nothing. You're an abd, you're a worshipper. You just glorify the one to whom all the beauty belongs. From the other perspective, that's connected to that one, is that you are a Khalifa, representative of the one who has all the beautiful names. A representative, a Khalifa, like in the case of Adam's story, where all the angels bow down to Adam. There's nothing special about Adam in the sense that he's not divine or he's not higher. He's a created being like everybody else, but he has the potential to reflect the beautiful names, to become venues where divine power and wisdom and creativity is reflecting. But the trick is not to forget that it's not yours. It's reflecting through you, which is a great honor. And if you try to say it's mine, it's very... it brings all kinds of insecurities because deep down you don't know. You know that it's not yours. So you always have this insecurity even if you're successful in this case. But when you recognize that it's from him, you just open yourself up to reflect that divine power through you, divine beauty through you, and you become this Khalifa, representative of God.
And those beautiful names rise between the distance. At the distance between cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. And then you take it to yourself between you, right? You let's say you produce something very beautiful. There you also can allow beautiful names to come out. You say, oh, it's mine, it came out of my hands. I wrote this paper, I found this theory, right? It's for me. Initially it looks from you because it came out of you, it came out of your hand, right? But then if you reflect on it, then you recognize, whoa, I'm a venue through which the beautiful name is manifesting. It is better than actually to say, it's much more dignifying than to say, it's mine, I did it. Because then you do it today and tomorrow you have a block and you're terrified. Why isn't it coming? Because it wasn't from you. So yeah, it can be applied internally too, when I am a cause of something.
Yeah, my dad, whenever I go out with my friends or something, and then my dad's like, he asked me like, oh, who paid for that or something? I'm like, oh, my friend did. He's always like, don't be a beggar or something like that. So then I got my own job now. And I pay for my own stuff, so I'm not saying it's from me, but
you're not faking at the job, right?
Huh?
You're not faking at the job. Right?
No. Sometimes like to get a tip, but
yeah, and that beckoning is in the largest sense, So if you're somebody who says it's all through my intelligence, then you're begging your brain cells to work for you, right? So if something happens in that lady's case, for instance, she lost her IQ. It was a big blow because she was begging. In a way, this is from me. This is from my brain, but my brain had a trauma. It lost that thing, right? Or you beg from things that you think is your source of well-being, whether it's your parents or your boss, or good weather, so all of these things, you're like, oh, please give me what I need. That's scenario one, the first version. The second version, you realize all of these things are means through which things are manifesting, right? Even though things are coming to you, maybe some things are coming, some good things are coming to you through your father. He's not the source. Don't worship your dad.
Yeah, when I was playing ping pong downstairs, I was like, oh, come on, I could do it. I did worse. It's like, I'm not joking when I said that I did worse. So I'm like,
which is beautiful. So you get to have an occasion to see beautiful names than to just go with that illusion into the darkness. Yes, very nice. So in sum, what is at stake in going beyond the seeming causes? What's at stake in questioning our superficial assumptions about nature, natural causes, and so on, is finding the source of all beauty, power, and compassion to find a way out of transience into eternity, and becoming a mirror, a conscious mirror to the glorious one. Other things could be said, but I'll stop here. Yes.
Are there any more slides without a question of the...
No, I'll stop.
Can you go, if you don't mind, can you go back to the slide before where there was a statement made on idol versus something else? There's one before this. Yeah. So I'm about to make a statement which is definitely open to scrutiny. It seems like from the statement where it says, I am dependent on the mercy, power, wisdom of the Eternal One. So there are three things there in that statement, as how I understand it. One is myself. Second is, or are, the qualities manifested, such as mercy, power, and wisdom. And third, the qualities of the one, right? Like the one that's manifesting all these qualities. Now the statement that I'm about to make is more of an analogy, where if I have the sense of appreciating beauty in a painting, and beauty being one of those qualities that I can attribute to the painter, saying the painter must have sense of beauty to paint such a beautiful thing, which I've come to love. At an existential level, my need for, I guess, eternal experience of beauty, the painter is not the only entity that is required, but rather the manifestation of the qualities as well. So if I'm locked in a room with the painter, in a way that would also seem very torturous to me until the painter starts painting and I experience the beauty that I've desired. So is this phrase or statement valid?
To be honest with you, I couldn't fully follow, because in that case you're saying the artist is the creator and you don't want to be locked up in the same room with the creator? Like,
just the creator. So to eternally exist in a satisfied state, since that is where I guess all of this began, right? Or in a more satisfactory state than I was before. It is not just in knowing that there is a creator, but also that the creator is also going to be manifesting those qualities that I've come to love or come to need or require.
Yeah, I would say, through the manifestation of the qualities, you would get to know the creator.
And without the creator, the manifestation of the qualities just cannot exist.
Right.
So
that has to be demonstrated for us to come to a conclusion. That makes sense.
As far as you are concerned, in your example, the painter, in your example, without manifesting or demonstrating his ability to paint, and so that he's a good painter and entertaining you there, his being with you doesn't mean anything. It means if you accept that the universe is created, I got it from there, that your conclusion, if you accept that the universe is created by God, but if you don't see his qualities manifesting and communicating with you, your belief in God as the creator of the universe wouldn't give any pleasure to you.
Manifestation becomes critical
Yeah,
to creation.
and also being conscious of the manifestation. That it is his qualities manifestation matters for.
Yeah, I mean, metaphors are helpful, but some are more limited than others. So in this particular case, it is difficult to make the analogy, very difficult. I mean, general analogies have limits, but this is difficult because the artist didn't give you the need for a beautiful painting, right? And he may be in the same room, he may be poking in his nose, like he may not, everything he does. So it doesn't quite represent what, this would, I mean, it's not a perfect statement, but what this is trying to express. In this case, it's more like, I know that there is a source of mercy, and that source of mercy and care is eternal, is absolute, it's not going to change, right? It's not like, and that's precisely why we talk about that and not other things. So let's say, come back to yolk sac, there is nourishment coming through the yolk sac. But the reason why I don't say yolk sac is the thing is because it withers away, it goes bad, right? So when I say, but then placenta kicks in, and then the mother's milk, or the teeth, whatever, other things, then I realize that all of this is giving me a glimpse of somebody who's enduring. So once you get to the enduring absolute source, then you have no fear that maybe he will withhold his mercy from me. Maybe he won't take care of my needs. That becomes impossible to entertain, because that's precisely the one that is the absolute source of goodness that you found. You're not worshipping the yolk sac anymore. If you are worshipping the yolk sac, you can say, what if it withers away? But once you find one who's beyond all this and is the real source of all this, then the source doesn't change. That's what it means to be a source.
I agree. I think it's the yolk sac becomes a means of manifestation of the mercy. So I'm not attributing the mercy to the yolk sac.
Yeah.
But without the yolk sac,
you don't know how the mercy is going to manifest, right? After the mother's milk, the next picture, you don't know, right? The next picture, you don't know how it's going to manifest tomorrow or after you die, or but you know that it is going to manifest. Yeah.
There's a question.
Okay. So I just wanted to make a connection. Earlier, someone said something about causes and about what is the relation of causes and why do they even exist in the first place. And going back to what Qasim was just saying, I think that the way we see the world and its beings, we can see that they're ephemeral, right? They're temporary. But in each cause or thing, you can find a way to permanence, in a sense. So through each cause, there is permanence. So if you can kind of cast away the external part, I don't want to say the external part is meaningless, but through casting that away, that's when you can really witness the divine names and truly the source of existence. So I just see that the causes are really the means through which we can see the source of existence, and they're kind of I guess that's the link.
And you don't quite cast away. That could be a metaphor. But in a way, it's look closer, right? Yeah.
Yes, Faraz, go ahead.
Thank you, moderator. Could you go back to the slide where it said worship was defined, or was it something with perfection? I don't know if this is the most relevant slide, but since we're concluding, I wanted to say that there's a chapter in the Quran that everyone knows that in Isra says, in human beings described as being in a state of loss. and then it makes an exception, except those who believe. So let's, so we've been talking about satisfaction and how this causality and how this reaching the one can save us from that loss. And I think so. I want to make a comment that speaks to both the very sort of idea that we encounter in the world, the idea of suffering in the world, and why, if there's God is compassionate, why is there so much suffering in the world? Why is there death and murder? Yes, human beings are free, but why does God give them the freedom to do this much damage? Or why does things happen like earthquakes and things? Why is there suffering and loss in the world? Why do parents lose their children? Why do children get separated from their parents? The refugees. Why is there racism in the world? And then I want to connect that also to what is the proper response? Should I or should I not join the Black Lives Matter movement? Should I participate in social activism or not? Am I being very cultural, sort of Muslim, and not really sort of being truly theologically candid when I do that? Is there a necessary disconnection or connection? So I want to make a comment that sort of hopefully touches on some of that. And it all comes to this idea of divine names. And I want us to think about that. An example of a loss. I want to describe my situation in a state of loss, and how when I separate the cause and effect and a divine name appears, how that saves me from that loss. So if I, for example, am separated from someone I love, for example my parent or a child is separated from me and I am feeling sad about it, separation is bringing sadness to my heart. In a world in which I feel sad, I happen to feel sad, the qualities of my brain make me sad, or the situation is making me sad, I'm in a state of loss. I'm feeling sad, and my sadness refers to me being sad, me not having been with the person I love or I want to be with. It's a loss. Only when I say that a feeling of sadness due to loss emerges from the name, from the quality of the one who brings together. That I could not feel sad at separation unless it was due to a will, a quality that wants, that celebrates togetherness, a uniter. Unless I invoke the name uniter, or the one who brings together, I cannot explain why I'm sad at being separated. So, in a naturalistic explanation of me, my sadness is mine, I feel loss. I'm so in a state of loss. And when I see that my sadness is not from me, what could it be from? What could sadness and loss be from? Is it from hatred? Would it be from contempt? What kind of quality, name would I look for? What kind of name manifests when I reflect on why am I sad at the death of my mother? Why am I not happy? So this brings me to the name of the one who wants life for my mother, for example. The will that desires life for my beloved makes me. So in my sadness, when I discover this, the one who wants my mother to live eternally, that's why he makes me sad, then I'm no longer in a state of loss. I found and will in the one who wants life for me. Similarly for racism, for example, if I stand up for racism, what me is very crucial to reflect on what makes me able to detect and perceive injustice or inequality. What kind of quality is needed for me to be indignant about inequality? And that, to me, is takes me from a state of loss and frustration to connecting me to that name, out of which that sense or that feeling is coming out. So that's my comment.
Thank you so much.